And hip hop, as we now know, became this international movement of style, creativity, music, and more. A complete movement. And the style part of it was different. I
Yeah.
mean, now hip hop is everywhere, so people don't even know what's the difference between hip
Like the
hop.
beginning. Like if you
Right.
get the book, the Coreen Simpson book with the gentleman on the cover, you'll see early hip hop style,
Yes.
which I
Yeah.
don't think people were really thinking about that, but I was,
Yeah.
because
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dream Leapers. I'm your host, Harriette Cole, and I have a delightful guest with me today, a woman I've known since I moved to New York City, which was in the early 80s. She is a photographer, a jewelry designer, just a creative force, and she has a new book out, which is what gives me the excuse to talk to her today. Let me tell you about her. She is a seasoned photographer and staple in Black history and visual culture. Coreen Simpson, yep, you know her. She is widely known for her signature jewelry line, the Black Cameo, that she created in 1990. Motivated by the absence of cameos representing or celebrating Black women's beauty, Coreen repurposed a traditional concept to develop imagery that could serve as a renowned symbol of Black femininity, style, and agency. Her work has been adorned by prominent figures, including Rosa Parks, Oprah Winfrey, Debbie Allen, and, Melba Wilson of Melba's. Every time I see Melba, she has on Coreen's jewelry. It's also been collected by major institutions, including MoMA, the Schomburg Center, and the Bronx Museum. Well, so though many people know her for the Black Cameo, Coreen has actually been documenting Black culture through photography since the 1970s. And she was able to sustain her love of photography, in part, as she describes, due to the success of her jewelry business. So recently, she's received renewed critical recognition for a beautiful book, Coreen Simpson, a monograph, which is part of Aperture's Vision and Justice book series. It highlights both her photography and her jewelry practice, and was co-edited by the one and only Deborah Willis. This is the very first time her work as a photographer and historian has been published in a book. All of her work. Coreen Simpson is joining us now to discuss this recent publication and the history of her artistry and her career. Please join me in welcoming Coreen Simpson.
Thank you, Harriette. Thank you so much. We had an interview. I don't remember when our interview was, when we just talked about the Black Cameo. We didn't really talk about photography.
Right. But I remember you as a photographer first, because I started at Essence in 1984, and you were doing photography a lot.
Yes, for Essence even.
That was pre the Black Cameo. I remember
yes,
you.
It was. So you know my history, Harriette.
Yes. I didn't know as much as I know from looking at this amazing book. Yeah. But I knew that you were a photographer, and I remember seeing you at many events documenting our cultural events all over New York City. But honestly, I think I forgot, because and even this is interesting too, Coreen, because I remember before the Black Cameo,
you
would come to Essence with this handcrafted jewelry that you had made.
Right, Harriette.
And I actually have some pieces. I have this one pair of earrings that what do you call that? Shoulder dusters.
Shoulder dusters at the time. That's what they called them.
Yes, they called them shoulder dusters. Several pieces, original Coreen Simpson pieces, way before, because Black Cameo, then you went into production and you were able to replicate. These were one of a kind.
You know what happened, Harriette?
What's
After the Cameo came out, people thought I deserted photography. I heard comments like she got caught up. But, I had to pay bills, and lugging all that camera equipment around, sometimes I never got the money as quickly as I needed to be paid when you work for different magazines. I not only worked for Essence, I worked for several other publications too. So that was a little help for me to make jewelry. And then the jewelry took off. And people said I got caught up. Even my mentors, one of them, I won't mention his name, are you still taking photographs? Of course I'm taking photographs. That's my first real love was photography, and always has been. The jewelry just supported the work.
Well, and I mean, again, I remember the jewelry when there were these beautiful, bold, one-of-a-kind pieces. And like so many other, because I was at Essence, we had the benefit of seeing so many of our artisans come through, and many people who, never really got to the point of being able to earn a living making their jewelry or whatever it might be, because one of a kind is hard to sustain as a big business.
That's right.
And you were doing this beautiful one of a kind work. We were using it in photo shoots, and other magazines were using.
Yes, I was so honored that Essence Communications, the magazine, featured my work with Janet Jackson wore my jewelry, Iman wore my jewelry. All this came about through Essence.
Yes.
Magazine. They really supported me. Then they featured me when the Cameo came out. So Essence was very critical to my promotion as a creative jewelry person, a jewelry maker.
I'd love you to tell the story of how the Black Cameo came to be, because it's a wonderful story of solving a problem for somebody, right?
Well, Audreen Ballard, who was the senior editor at Essence, was offered a position at Lear's. Norman Lear, the great TV producer who made All in the Family, all those shows. Well, his wife and they divorced, and Mrs. Lear got an amazing settlement in the divorce, and she decided to produce a magazine for more mature women like in their, I guess, late 30s, early 40s or 50s. There was no fashion magazine for women of that age group. So when Audreen got the position as chief editor-in-chief, she was a Black woman who got this position of with the white magazine called Lear's. And remember, Harriette, when I would go to Essence, Essence would allow me to sell my jewelry in the conference room.
I remember.
So Audreen followed up with that. Audreen said, you can show your jewelry in the conference room.
At Lear's.
At Lear's. So one day I went there, and Chanel had come out with a cameo. This is a cameo for people who don't know. It's a piece of jewelry. It's a relief, and it symbolizes to many people their pride in being feminine, pride of being a woman. White women wear it all the time, but Black women didn't have the accessibility of it. That's all I did, was bring it back, modernize it. Mm-hmm. So
Audreen asked you, right?
Audreen Ballard, I always give her credit. She said, Chanel came out with a beautiful cameo but it's of a white woman. I am not a white woman. I am a woman of color. Coreen, can you make a cameo? I said, I never made a cameo. No, but maybe I'll find one. And I went into the Diamond District. I could not find this anywhere. No cameos of a Black woman. Of course, they did it in Europe. I did research.
Right.
In the 1800s, the cameo Abil, made from London, all kind of stuff. But where is ours that we can acquire today? So anyway, that's how it started.
Yeah. And researching. What was so amazing, so for those of you who can't see, because DreamLeapers airs audio as well as video, what Coreen made is it's an oval shape. It's on ivory, and then there's a silhouette of she looks like an African queen. It has Black woman's waves in her hair.
Yes, it could be. I wanted to sort of encompass all of us. That way,
Yeah. Yes. And so it was 1990 when you started it, right?
Well, I got the idea to do it in 1989 because I was still trying to accommodate my my client or
Right.
dream ballard to look for a cameo. So one day, Harriet, I was at home in my apartment and I'm thinking, how am I going to find this cameo? How am I going to do this? And I heard it in a voice. I heard a voice. I wish I heard it again. A total voice of inspiration. And I heard it that time. It said, why don't you do it? That's all I heard.
That's great.
And
You did
I
it.
I got up off the bed. I said, oh, wow. It's like somebody was talking to me. Maybe my ancestors. I think I try to believe that's what happened. It sounds a little cuckoo, but I think that
Well,
it happened.
and then what happened, you go from one of a kind pieces to being able to create this
To be mass produced.
and have it right produced. So I'm sure that completely changed your income stream.
Yes, it did, because you can't make money like one of a kind pieces. And I'm never about money. If somebody likes something I did, I might want $300. I might have wanted 200. I might have wanted 80, but they couldn't afford it. I would say, well, just give me 40.
Right.
Because
you're an artist, you weren't a businesswoman.
Yeah, and I just wanted someone who really wanted. I just like the idea that somebody liked my work. And of course, a lot of the fabulous women wore my things. So the more they wore my things, the more. Well, you did things, Harriet. The knitting. I remember your
crochet. So wait, I'm going to show you. I just picked up. This is a pair of earrings that you made. Look.
Oh wow!
Do you remember these?
I can't really see. Oh, but
look.
Oh, it's like it's like a child. It's like a child coming back to you, like when painters sell their paintings, and when when people show me some things that I did years ago, I said, "How did I do that? I don't even remember how I did it." I think the fingers, the hands have a mind of their own.
Dude, but I was so excited that I knew where they were, so I got to put them on to show Coreen.
That's perfect. But I remember when you're very creative yourself, Harriet. I don't know if people know that about you.
Yes, I had 108 stitches for about 10 years.
Yes, and I thought it was fabulous. So
it's just it's hard to do everything.
That's right.
That is on pause for a moment. But every time I talk to somebody like you, I'm like, oh, I need to get back.
No, but I understand, because you're a communicator, and you with Dream Leapers, it inspires so many other people when they hear about how we got started. You think it was complicated. It really just have a vision. Commit to a vision. That's how you leap forward with your dream. With Dream Leapers. Wasn't that good right there?
That was very good.
Leap forward. And the universe will bring people to you that will make your dream happen. You're a prime example of it, I think.
That is what I tell people all the time. In fact, I bring people on like you so that people will be inspired to pursue their dreams. I think it's wonderful for us to know about each other, but it's not enough to just know about the other person. It's like, well, what do you do? What are you supposed to be doing with your life? And when people hear what folks have gone through, what the challenges are, what the focus has been, when things don't go right, how you pick yourself back up, all that stuff, I think is especially important now.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of contraction in our world. And even especially during times like this, we need to remember we can do it, whatever it is. But we do have to figure out what it is.
That's right.
You have to figure it out and then make that effort, which is so true.
Absolutely.
For jewelry, I'm curious, because before we go into the book, I just want to know, what made you even decide to make jewelry at all? That's
a good question. I was working as a freelance photographer, and a friend of mine used to work with Diane Vreeland at the Metropolitan. He was one of her assistants at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, but he was also a friend of mine. He was gorgeous. Richard Degussy, I met a white young man, and I met him covering a show, and we became friends. And one day he called me up. He said, I have a lot of old things. Why don't you come with me down to the village And I said, well, I have a lot of old jewelry that I'm not wearing anymore. He said, bring that, we can sell it. So I was selling on the streets of the East Village. And when I got more skilled at what I was doing, someone said, they're not going to pay this kind of, you deserve more money. You should go uptown to 57th in front of Bendel's.
Yes.
Remember Bendel's, the old Bendel's boutique was a fabulous store where all the wealthy and fabulous fashionistas would go to. They said, go across the street from Bendel's. And wow, I did so well. Most of my clients were white women that worked in that area. And one day, Carolina Herrera walked by where I was selling my jewelry. And she looked at it, but I knew who she was, but I didn't say anything. But I knew exactly who she was because she's a top designer. And she gave me her card and she said, I love your jewelry. Do you have more? I said, yes, I don't bring the very important pieces out because I'm afraid the police they would arrest you, you know. Sure. So she said, here's my card. Can you bring your things to my studio tomorrow? And I said, yes. So I went home and got all the very important pieces and brought it. She brought 11 necklaces. Wow. 11 necklaces and put them in her resort collection, Harriette. And then after that sale, Glamour magazine wrote a little article about it. And then somebody said, I don't remember who, they said, you can't go back on the street. You've been validated by a top designer. You can't do that anymore. And then I had to change. And I was glad because it was I had a lot of anxiety selling my jewelry on the street.
The cops do sweep
you. Honest with you. It was kind of, and I had George with me, George Mingo, the sculptor. We were in a relationship and he would always look out for me. And he never liked it either. But one day I bought a painting from someone that cost $4,000. And one day on 57th Street, I made the exact amount for that painting. I had the money in my savings to buy the painting, but I made that exact amount from my jewelry to pay for that painting. Can you imagine? That? This was in the 80s. It was in the 80s.
Hey guys, this is Dream Leapers with Harriette Cole. We are talking with artist, photographer, jewelry maker, Coreen Simpson. Going down memory lane right now. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Me too.
But that's the power of I like that you're giving that comparison because it was a piece of art that you wanted to buy, and your art, the wearable art, the jewelry, you ended up making that same amount of money.
And yes, and giving the artist the money for that. What I would never, I told them, put a red dot on that painting I'm buying. I still have that painting. Beautiful. I still have it. And so I was able to help another artist because for 1 hour selling on 57th Street between 5th and Madison. Hey, I mean, wherever Bendel's was, I was right across the street.
Yeah, I know. Bendel's was an amazing
taxes on it. You know, I always pay my taxes. So, you know.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's important. And so your photography, this book, Coreen Simpson, it's a beautiful book of your photographs that really show how you documented Black culture for all of these many years. And the majesty that you draw out of people is something that's very clear as you look at the pictures. And you said you were inspired by a very famous photographer in the way that you took these pictures. Can you tell that story?
Well, of course, Irving Penn and oh God, I'm having a senior moment here.
I know I'm gonna and me too because I read it and then
because oh God,
hold on, let's find it.
Yeah,
but you know, my husband worked for Irving Penn.
Really, and he's a wonderful photographer too.
He was an assistant for Irving Penn.
But I've been inspired by so many photographers, to tell you the truth. But I looked at
Richard Avedon is the story.
Richard Avedon.
Right. Richard, you have a story about Richard Avedon.
Fabulous Vogue photographer. He did so many great things. But on his own, he used to set up. Thank you, Harry. He used to set up studios, and he would go to Texas and photograph maybe the oil workers and things like that. And he inspired me. And Irving Penn did the same thing. He set up studios and did things. And I said, well, I could do that too in my way to do that. So when I saw the hip hop generation coming, my daughter told me, I didn't know what I was looking at. I took a picture of someone. I said, what do you call this style? And Susie told me, oh, that's mommy, that's hip hop. And I said, well, where can I find more subjects like this? And she directed me to the Roxy. And I went to the Roxy Club and asked them in Manhattan, would they allow me to set up a studio? I wasn't getting paid, Harriet. We don't do these things for money. We do it because
your heart told you to do it, right?
It's a calling. It's a calling. In fact, James Baldwin, the great writer who inspired me so much, he said in his writings, although I did meet him several times before he passed away, but he said, go where the blood beats. What excites you, do that. And so I always took that as a mantra. And I said, oh, that's so exciting. Let me go to the Roxy. So we can't wait for a job. We can't wait for Essence or Vogue magazine to call us up and give us an assignment as a photographer, photo photographer. We can't wait for that. We have to just go and do what we have to do on our own. And then the money will come later. I was believing that, sowing seeds.
Well, that's a really good point, Coreen. When I talk to young people, anybody, but especially young people who are beginning, and they say, I want to be this or that. I'm like, well, are you doing it now?
Yeah,
well,
what are you doing?
I can't do it yet because I have to take this class. I mean, you can start doing whatever it is that you want to do now. You may need to take a class. You may need to get additional education, but if your heart is telling you you have to do something, do it.
That's right.
Do it. Just do it.
And you know, Harriet, I just came from Paris for the Paris Photo, where I had, promoting the book. I was promoting my book through Aperture, and I had to speak with my editor at Paris Photo at the Grand Palais, and it was fabulous. And I said the same thing to the young people that were there. And, you know, two young ladies came upstairs with their microphones and did an interview. They were inspired by what I said. Don't wait for somebody to give you power to do an interview. Just do it. And they said, we were inspired by you, so we're interviewing you right now.
Oh,
so
that's beautiful.
Great. Yeah, it was great. And Deb was there. You know, Dr. Deb Willis, who you're going to interview separately soon, who has been a great catalyst for my work. So and Sarah Lewis and Bridget Cooks and all those people with Aperture. But Dr. Deb asked me one day, what would you like to happen in your life? A question like that. I said, I always wanted my own book. I want my own book. And there it is. Because, you know, Harriet, I was self-publishing. I was self-published. Like, here's a book. That my Cameo book, I self-published that. I self-published other photo catalogs myself because I was making money and I could do it on my own. So I was already publishing myself, but
in terms of working with a publishing house. I mean, this is a big book. It is a heavy book, and it is filled with so many images. I want to go back to the Roxy because your daughter let you know that was the place to go. For people who don't know that, can you describe the Roxy and who was there and what your setup was?
Well, it was a big club. It was huge. I think they had one night for hip hop. I think it was Wednesday night. And when I went to the owners, I just walked in there one afternoon with my idea. And they liked the idea. You know, actually, when I finished doing the portraits that I did that's in the book, they wanted me to come and have a job and do Polaroids. But that's not what that wasn't what I wanted to do. But anyway, George Mingo, was my partner for like 17, 18 years, who was a sculptor and a painter, fabulous. We both showed at Whitney in the last year. Together with the Jam show. So I know he would be he passed away, but he would be so deeply honored that his work was at not the Whitney, MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art. Okay, anyway, I digress. So George would come with me to protect me because, you know, I had all this equipment. So I would set up the backdrop with my camera, and then George would watch the equipment because we didn't know who these people were. They might steal our camera. I don't like camera equipment. So I would walk on the dance floor and pull people from the dance floor. And I would just tell them, you look so fabulous. We have a camera I'm doing portraits and I want you included. And they would come and then I would just photograph them very quickly, not long. It would just be a few minutes of it, you know, and I had the setup and I would say, okay. And I would give them encouragement. You look fabulous. You are fabulous. Fabulosity. We didn't use that word then, but that's what I was like, oh my God, I love this outfit. It's all about fashion. I did it from a fashion perspective, not the musical perspective.
And hip hop, as we now know, became this international movement of style, creativity, music, and more. You know, a complete movement. And the style part of it was different. I mean, now hip hop is everywhere, so people don't even know what's the difference between hip hop.
Like the beginning, like if you get the book, the Coreen Simpson book with the gentleman on the cover, you'll see early hip hop style, which I don't think people were really thinking about that, but I was, you know, because people say I was a fashion photographer, but not really. I consider myself a documentary and fine art photographer. I love documentary work and all that. So I went go into the Roxy as documenting, not being really about fashion, but it was about fashion really. And I love fashion. So, you know.
And a lot of the photographs are black and white.
Yes.
Was this black and white film?
Yes, because we didn't have digital cameras back at that time. So when I went to do the Roxy portraits, I had already been shooting. I was assistant curator of photography at the Studio Museum, the original museum on Fifth Avenue. Now they're on 125th Street, but they used to be on Fifth Avenue. So I used to do a lot of documentary work, and also a lot of artists would come back and forth, like Toni Morrison, Betty Saar. Every artist you could think of was at the original Studio Museum.
Yes.
I set up a little studio in my office, even though that was not my job. My job was to assist Reginald McGee at the James Van Der Zee Institute. So that wasn't my job to be a photographer, but I was always working as a photographer. So I basically lied to everybody that came in. I said, the museum wants me to take a photograph of you. Would you come into my studio? I told a little fib, but those photographs are in the book and
there's a wonderful photograph of Betty Saar from, I don't know how many years ago. She's very young looking in this picture.
It probably was in the 70s, late 70s when I took that picture. And
she's almost 100 now.
Absolutely. And, you know, I had little different things that to make the photograph interesting. I had a veil. I put a veil over her because she was so surreal. She was so, you know, Betty Saar is a magician, and I wanted her to look like that.
I was so excited to see that. She is someone, because I was fortunate to work at Essence for many years, and I covered art in the early years.
Oh.
I met Betty Saar in the early 80s.
Wow.
And over the course of my career, I have been able to interview her several times, including the last time was right before COVID, but in recent years. She was in her 90s already.
Right.
And I went to her house in the Hollywood Hills.
What, for Dreamleapers?
This was...
You interviewing her for Dreamleapers?
I don't remember what it was for.
Okay.
It wasn't for Dreamleapers, but, you know, I interviewed for so many. You know what? It was probably for the History Makers, because I did a lot of interviews for that digital archive. That's what it was for.
Okay.
And she, at 90 plus years old, when I interviewed her, because now I think she's 99, she still is living in her house that has multiple floors. And she has that elevator that goes up the side of the stage.
Right.
She can walk, but because she's advanced age, they didn't want her walking all the time. So she said, I'm going to live in my house. I'm going to make my house accessible. It was so inspiring.
Oh, you went to her house?
Yes.
Oh, that's fabulous, Harriette.
And got to see all of her. Like, if for anybody who doesn't know Betty Saar's work, it is worth looking up. It's Betyesaar.
AR.
His daughter, Allison Saar, who's also
Yep. And
an
she's very
incredible,
celebrated as an
very
artist
celebrated as
herself.
well.
Yeah.
And Betty's work, it is surreal. It's like she spent a lot of time in Haiti and has got a lot of influences from,
Right.
the magical side of Haitian culture.
Right.
And
I love her altars, her altar
yes,
people.
they're magnificent.
Yeah.
So I loved seeing her portrait in your book, and also seeing her as a very young woman,
Yeah.
because I've known her over the course of so many years. Let me remind folks, this is Dream Leapers with Harriette Cole. We are talking with Coreen Simpson, going down memory lane, just enjoying so many great stories of pursuing your dreams. It's really
Exactly.
that's what it is. Now, Coreen, you share in your book that you grew up in foster care. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
I'm sure a lot of people don't know it.
So
Don't know about that.
what was your early life like?
Well, I was my brother and I, James Rogers, I'm Coreen Rogers Simpson, but I don't use the Rogers, but that was my maiden name. We were the product of a biracial marriage. My mother was a private school teacher, a white woman that taught in a private school on the East Side. My father was a black jazz musician that was a chauffeur that brought these kids to the school. So that's how my parents met. And evidently the marriage didn't work. It didn't work out. I don't know. I was so young. I don't really remember what went down. But we ended up in an orphanage at first, my brother and I. And I think that's where my love of fashion developed, because we had no clothes. Everybody in the orphanage had to go to a community closet for their coats. We didn't have our, whatever fit you put on. So that registered with me. No, this will never happen again in my life. I'm going to have clothes, But anyway, that's how I ended up in foster care. We were adopted by a couple in the Davis family in Bedford-Stuyvesant. So I grew up in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, where the fashion was always fabulous.
Yes.
It blew my mind what I saw as a kid.
How old were you when you were?
Like 6, and my brother probably was 5.
Wow. And your sharing of it, you found positive in a situation that was really tragic.
It was very traumatic, because I remember as a kid, for one thing, I had I remember banging my head on the pillow. I don't know what they call that, when it's self-soothing maybe. And I had that habit when I went into foster care, but that went away by the love and security of the Robert Davis family that raised my brother and I. And they kept us together. Sometimes they separate children that are in orphanages. They separate you, but they took both of us in. And my brother graduated from Fordham, and now, we were accomplished kids. So look out for foster kids, because you might have a smart kid on your hands. Right, Harriette?
I love hearing the stories, again, for folks who may be saying, well, these are my life circumstances, therefore I can't do whatever it is. Not true. It's never that we always have an opportunity to make something of ourselves and not be the victim.
Right.
Things happen. A lot of things happen. You don't get through life without stuff happening. Go ahead.
I think also as a photographer, it has served me, those life experiences, because that's always, I feel almost sometimes as an outsider. So the camera allows me to document and see life that I wasn't allowed. And I was raised in a very religious family too. So after I became an adult, I wanted to see the world, which they were Baptists, Jehovah's Witnesses. They protected me. They didn't want me out there with the wild, wild world or whatever. The world is a bad place. But I wanted to see the world. And I think the camera allowed me to do that. So I always felt like sort of an outsider documenting for other people who might be sequestered, who didn't have the freedom to go out. This is what the world is about. The world is what you make it. And I always loved my subjects. They allowed me they were so much fun. I loved the fashion. I loved political figures. I got to meet Rosa Parks, Bayard Rustin. I photographed Bayard, and when he died, they used my photograph for at his funeral. So I met so many fabulous people. Maybe briefly photographing them, but I wanted to document what I saw as an outsider. So that works in the world of photography, being an outsider, I think.
When did you pick up the camera? Because you have a story of someone teaching you how to use a camera. What made you even decide to do it?
Well, I wanted to be a writer. I thought that would be good because as an outsider, you can look in other people's lives and you're interested in their lives. So I was working with Vi Higginson and her magazine, Unique New York.
Right.
Vi allowed us, she didn't know me. I called her up one day and I said, "You don't know me, Miss Higginson or Vi." And she picked up the phone from her own magazine. It was I looked at the magazine and saw a phone number. And when I called, she answered the phone. And I said, "I have an idea." And she said, "What's the idea?" I said, "Well, I would like to document bartenders because I was dating a bartender in New York, in Upper West Side." And I said, I met a lot of bartenders and I would like to do an article. And she said, "Okay, I need 3 pages, double page, whatever the specs were." Right. And I said, "Oh, wow, this is so great. This is so exciting." So Vi Higginson really started me off as a writer. But then I did not like the photographs that were shown with my articles. I thought the people were far more fabulous than the photographs that they were giving into to the magazine. So I was modeling a little bit and I knew some photographers, and I called one of my friends and I asked him, "Could you help me? How should I can you loan me a camera?" I didn't even have a camera, Harriette. I didn't even have a camera. And Walter Johnson, who became one of my first mentors, brought me a camera. And in a half an hour, he showed me how to read the meter. Remember, we didn't have digital cameras back then. So I had to learn how to do that.
Right. All of that, the technique of photography, there are a lot of people right now actually who aren't learning it because they pick up their phone and.
Right. Well, I use the phone, no problem. But I'm so grateful.
Things you need to learn.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that I learned darkroom. I went into the darkroom. I used to print. I worked for the Village Voice, so I had to develop the film, develop the film. I would work all night in my private darkroom and then bring the photographs to the Voice. It was work.
Yeah. We mentioned Irving Penn earlier, and I told you my husband worked for him early on after he graduated from SVA, and he was doing retouching and learned retouching.
Oh,
Irving Penn. Do you think of,
that's, and that was expensive to have somebody retouch your photographs. Today we have the digital, we have to clean up. You can just clean up. It's so fascinating. But I'm glad I knew where it started and what's available now. I'm glad I knew it. I'm glad I understand all those dynamics, really.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the other images that are in your book, because you definitely were documenting hip hop in the early days, but I just see all of these wonderful, tender moments in the book of people who are just like they say, living their best life, really happy, joyous pictures of all kinds of people. How did you choose your subjects?
Wow. Oh, that's a good question. Well, I set up a studio in Harlem when the first studio I set up. I went to the grocery store and I asked the guy, I said, your clients are so interesting when I come into the store. So I said, "Can I set up a backdrop?" I'm with the Studio Museum in Harlem.
That helped.
I'm with the Studio Museum. We're doing the cultural thing, and he said, "Okay." And whoever came in the store that was pleasant, I would just bring them over to the backdrop, and they agreed to.
This is in the grocery store.
Yeah, that was like a bodega, but it was like it was like a bodega, and it was right near the Studio Museum in Harlem. And I don't quite remember exactly who the owner was, but he allowed me to set up a studio, and I would just pick people who looked interesting, who were, just interesting people that I would want to get to know. And I said, oh, I like your hat. I like that. Would you come and I'm doing this? I would explain very briefly what I was trying to do. And they said, okay. Harriette, people like to be recognized.
And appreciated.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying.
I
like
do.
With you, Dream Leapers, people want to tell their story, and I believe in all that.
And you know what? I love what you're saying, because I'm not doing it through taking pictures, but when I walk down the street and I see someone who just looks beautiful, I tell them. And sometimes people will look at me and go, "Are you talking to me?" Like,
yes, no, I agree. I do that all the time, and I'm not even taking their picture. I'll just stop them and say, "Wow, those shoes are fabulous." Because I have that fashion background. They don't know that, but they like that. Most people are very great. They love that, and it's fun. You get to meet people,
And I see there are also in your book, there are a lot of pictures of people from the LGBTQ community. Sometimes
because Harriette, I was very fascinated by that, because I grew up in a very religious home.
Yes.
We could not play music, R&B music on Sunday, because my father said only gospel on Sunday. So you can understand that the working class family that I was raised in, they were very religious. So when I got out of school, high school, and I had very good jobs. I worked for NBC, RCA as an executive assistant. I had great secretarial skills. And so I was able to. I realized I could use that to be a writer, but that's beside the point. But what was I saying? I got off track.
Yeah, I love. Wait.
Yeah, but we were talking about what exactly?
I'm lost too.
How did I choose my subjects?
How did you choose your subject? Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what we're talking about.
But I love. We were talking about the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, that's it.
But it's interesting to me, Coreen, that like your attitude, you weren't judgmental. You were fascinated because this was a different part of society that you didn't know.
My family wouldn't allow me to see what was going on out there. I mean, they were like very protective. I don't say they were bad or anything, but they were just protective. But when I grew up, I said, oh, I want to be a writer. I didn't like the photographs, but then I realized I would get double money taking the photographs and writing the articles. And then I could go into a whole world that I never knew before with the camera, which is a passport. It's a passport to the world. That's what the camera is.
That's so true. And then today, in our culture today, if you look around, especially at young people, you see so much individual expression that's just really fascinating. But also there's a lot of contraction. There's a lot of this whole anti-DEI movement, that diversity is not being as welcomed as it was just a few years ago. Mm-hmm. As a photographer, what do you think is important in your work to help people continue to believe that as they are is valuable?
Yeah. In my book, the photographs, you can see the diversity, because I cover not just the Black community, but the human community. And wait, I say it again.
So I'm just curious about the role of a photographer, especially you have documented.
Well, it's a weapon. Gordon Parks said, choose your weapons. Music might be to illuminate the world. What is your weapon of choice? Mm-hmm. I think it was Gordon Parks who was one of the greatest photographers of all time.
That's
and what he did with Reverend Ledbetter, the Baptist Church, is amazing. But it's a weapon. It's a weapon. It's your eyes. What are you seeing? The camera will show the world what you're seeing. And this might not be a good thing right now, so you take a photo of it. It's a weapon of choice. Some people use their voice, their singing voice as a weapon. Aretha, the goddess, the black goddess of soul, whatever God, everybody has a gift. The thing is to find out, Harriette, what is your gift? You know your gift. I know my gifts. You have gifts. We all have gifts.
Yep.
We have to find out what your gift is. And once you know it, then you have to move in that direction. Show the world your gift. Don't hide it.
Yeah, that's true.
My eye is my gift.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey guys, this is Dream Leapers with Harriette Cole. We are talking with artist, photographer, jewelry maker, Coreen Simpson, who has a new book out. It is called her name, Coreen Simpson. Beautiful, heavy book of beautiful photographs from the 70s up until today. It's really,
I'm gonna put it up.
So yeah, there you go. It's stunning.
I'm gonna put it up, Harriette.
Stunning
That's
book.
my book. And it's so many great essayists, the top essayists of the day. I'm so honored that they wrote essays in my book. It's unbelievable.
I've read, and then the one that, because you mentioned Deb Willis a few minutes ago, Deb Willis did a Q&A with you.
Yes. It's called The Lives of Coreen Simpson. Because she said I have a lot of lives.
Yeah, and you know what? It's true. It's so funny that when I saw it, that it was called that, because I tell people sometimes that I've had 39 lives.
Really? Like a cat.
Story.
Yeah, Harry, remember the book you did on the weddings?
Yes.
Guess
what, Coreen? That was 32 years ago. But guess what? They just asked me to make a new version. I'm making
That's great.
The room right now.
Update it, like Deb Willis's book, Reframing the, this is a Black photographer. You have to do that with the book on weddings.
Yes, I'm doing it literally as we speak, which is
great,
amazing. So
well, I wish you a lot of success. I want to see it.
Because
you put me in the book, the original book with the cameo. I don't know if you remember.
I do remember, and guess what? You can be in this one too. There's a resource guide in the back for people who want to shop and have those dollars circulating in our community. So I have we're making it right now, and it includes designers, accessories designers,
great,
all kinds of folks in the Black community, so that we can support each other. Which is really fascinating that we can still do this, to this day. And it has to be conscious. A lot of people are conscious of how they spend their dollars, and I'm hoping that as people start their lives together, that they will do the same. So, Coreen, before we go, what advice, you've been giving it already, but if you have anything else you'd like to share.
My best, because you never know who's going to listen. And, what advice would I do to give to who?
Give to folks who are considering pursuing their dreams, but may need a little bit of a push. What did you
do? You don't do it. Okay. You don't stop your job right away if you have a job, or where you're making your money for your rent and things like that. What you do is a little bit at the time. I made a business card because this is what I want to be. I make a business card, and I would work on the weekends. I would write my articles on the weekends. So you dip your foot in the water a little bit at a time until what your new career allows you to later on you'll make more money. I'm just saying you could take it in steps. You don't have to just stop completely.
That's good.
I worked as an executive assistant, then I went to working 3 days a week with a part, what do you call it, when you work years ago, like
a temp?
When you just did part-time work,
Mm-hmm.
I did that 2 or 3 days a week. I stopped working 5 days a week, and then I was able to narrow it to 2 days a week, and then 1 day, and then my career, I haven't worked for anybody in 35 years.
I love that.
It didn't happen overnight.
I think that's excellent advice. Thank you so much. And congratulations on your book. It is a beautiful book and a really wonderful snapshot of our culture, just looking at the evolution of culture through your eyes. So congratulations on making your book, Coreen. Thank you for
talking. I'm so glad you're still doing Dream Leapers.
Thank you.
Because I did the one so many years ago. Did it.
I know.
So, and it was on the phone. It wasn't on like a Zoom like we have now. Remember?
Right. It
Phone.
was just on the radio, and now we get to
Yeah.
do it with audio and video, which is
Well,
so
thank you,
exciting.
Harriet, so much. I love
Thank
you,
you.
and
Thank
I'm
you.
proud of you, and you're growing and growing and growing, and
Thank
we all
you.
want to do that. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
God
Thank
bless.
you. And thank you to all of you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Coreen Simpson as much as I did. As she said, we go way, way back, and I'm very happy that we can continue to share stories in this way. Until next time, have a great day and make it count.